Palestinian resistance movement Hamas confirmed that it will release 3 Israeli hostages from Gaza on Saturday. President Donald Trump announced on Thursday the setup of reciprocal tariff on his country's trading partners that will match the rates applied by each nation to the United States. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel reiterated the nation's denunciation of the subversive actions promoted by the United States through organizations such as USAID. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. Now we will begin with the news. Stay with us. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas confirmed that it will release 3 Israeli hostages from Gaza on Saturday, as planned after talks with ceasefire mediators Egypt and Qatar. In a statement, Hamas described the Cairo talks as positive and said that the Egyptian and Qatari mediators pledged to work to promote remaining obstacles imposed by the Israeli regime. The resistance movement has threatened to delay the upcoming release of Israeli detainees, accusing Israel of not fulfilling its obligations to allow tents and shelters to enter, among other violations of the truth. Palestinian authorities report that since the ceasefire agreement came into force, more than 90 people have been killed and 822 injured by Israeli attacks. Yeah. More than 2 million people in Gaza face conditions that put their survival at risk. Moreover, according to UNICEF, international assistance is insufficient to reverse the situation. The United Nations Children Fund's call for access to Gaza for the restricted items, including pipes for the repairing water systems and generators to run water pumps. Likewise, the Palestinian Refugee Agency also highlighted as an immediate priority the need to provide shelters and warmth to people returning to their shattered houses. At least 48,219 Palestinians were killed in Gaza and 111,665 were injured as a result of the constant Israeli attacks since October 2023. The Prime Minister of Georgia accused the U.S. Agency for International Development, known as USAID, for applying colored revolutions in the country as well as interfering in its electoral decisions. The USAID was involved in the planning and implementation of revolution process. There is concrete evidence of this, including video evidence, said Minister Irakli Kovadic. According to the executive, the organization has also been directly involved in the political and electoral processes of the country. In this regard, Kovadic expressed his satisfaction that the new U.S. administration is finally talking about all the irregularities running USAID activities. Thailand's army informed that 260 individuals considered to be victims of trafficking trapped to work online fraud centers will be repatriated after being rescued from Myanmar. According to Thai media reports, an ethnic Myanmar militia for the benevolent Karen Democratic Army assumed the task of freeing the workers and transferring them to the border. The Thai military indicates that the rescued individuals will be interrogated, and if proven to be victims of human trafficking, they will be undergo a protection process while awaiting to be returned to their home countries. It was also reported that the people rescued in most recent operations belong to more than 20 nations, such as Ethiopia, Kenya, the Philippines, Malaysia, Pakistan, China, and among others. The second edition of the Islamic Arts Biennial is being held in Saudi Arabia, a meeting that seeks to modernize the Islamic tradition. Let's see.
The city of Jeddah, on the shores of the Red Sea, hosts this event covering 100,000 square meters with 5 exhibition halls and numerous open-air spaces, displaying more than 500 pieces, including modern objects and ancient works. The biennial, the first and only exhibition in the world dedicated to the arts of the Islamic civilization, is committed to the juxtaposition of relics with the aim of transforming the ultra-conservative image of this religion.
Islam is a lived system. It is experienced by billions of people from around the world. Our experiences with Islam shape culture, shape our understanding of ourselves. In the Biennale, this bringing together of the contemporary past really emphasizes the change that Saudi Arabia is going through. No other.
This Islamic Arts Biennial features the participation of more than 30 artists from all over the country, as well as guests from the Gulf region and other countries, allowing visitors to view objects and works from various parts of the world. Included in the exhibitions are displays from sacred sites, such as Mecca and Medina, including Islamic holy objects such as the sacred Kiswa. There are also collections from the cultures of Mali, Qatar, and Turkey, and samples from more than 30 of the world's most important institutions, including the Vatican Apostolic Library in Vatican City, the Louvre Museum in Paris, and the Victoria and Albert Museum in London.
Yeah, for me, the Islamic arts context, it's definitely given me a lot of thought and research and diving deeper into what it means to me and what it means to us regionally. And again, it's about, I think, recontextualizing, reframing, putting it within the global context, but also historical, so.
The biennial seeks to offer a perspective on the way in which diverse cultures interact and endure. By combining historical objects from Islamic cultures with contemporary art, it allows to explore the beliefs of faith through feeling, thought, and creation. The exhibition will be open until May 25th of this year.
Let's take a very first break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. President Donald Trump announced on Thursday a set of reciprocal tariffs on his country trading partners that will match the rates applied by each nation to the U.S. After the announcements of the measure, the president signed a memorandum on the matter, which will allow his administration to execute the review process to implement the initiative. Trump asserted that the equalization of tariffs with other countries will lead to the return of pharmaceutical, automotive, and integrated certain manufacturers to U.S. soil, boosting jobs creation. However, analysts have said that the tariff policy will backfire on Trump if his agenda increases inflation and slows economic growth, making it a high-risk gamble for the country.
And on trade, I have decided, for purposes of fairness, that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. In other words, they charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax or tariff. Very simple. In addition, we will make a provision for subsidies provided by countries in order to take economic advantage of the United States, which a lot of countries do, including our allies.
China's Ministry of Commerce criticized the U.S. government's decision to impose a 25% tariff on steels and aluminum imports. The decision to increase tariff was announced by President Donald Trump on February the 10th and has generated negative reactions around the world. The Asian giant's action will lead to trade retaliations that will affect the competitiveness of Chinese steel. However, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce points out that the immediate impact on exports will be limited since they represent only 0.8% of total exports. China also recalled that in 2022, the World Trade Organization determined that these tariffs violate international regulations. Despite this, the U.S. government has not only maintained the tariff but also increased them for aluminum products. In South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa held a military ceremony in honor of South African soldiers killed in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Our nation is in mourning, were the words of the South African president, who also offered his deepest sympathy for 14 soldiers killed by the armed group M23 in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. After 2 weeks of waiting, the remains of the fallen soldiers arrived in the Sartov Air Base, where they were given a ceremony attended by members of the armed forces and where the bodies were handed over to their families. The soldiers were killed in clashes between the Congolese army and the M23 rebel group on January the 25th and the 27th. So far this year, the African continent has registered more than 97% confirmed cases and more than 1,700 deaths due to mpox. About the countries that have recorded outbreaks on the continent, 9 are in the so-called control phase and 13 in the active phase, including the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Epidemiologist Nensha Ngogo, head of the Executive Office of the Centers in Africa, stressed that although significant progress has been made in the response to mpox, the current insecurity and the pause in funding from the U.S. government pose a significant risk to the control of the outbreak. In this regard, the African Union Public Health Agency warned on Thursday that the funding freeze for foreign aid programs ordered by U.S. President Donald Trump is already impacting the ability of African countries to respond to the mpox epidemic. Well, 100 masterpieces of the Norwegian painter Edvard Munch are exhibited at the Palazzo Bonaparte in Rome, Italy. The paintings on loan from the museum that bears his name in Oslo, Norway, examines the anxieties and concerns of the human being who work in retrospective from his youth to the last years of his life. Considered one of the leading symbolist artists of the 9th century, Munch weighs his creations with primary attention to color, detail, and expressions of the soul. Among the paintings on the displays in Rome are one of the lithography version of the Scream 1895, Girls of on a Bridge 1927, Melancholy in the Night East, in the 1900, and Death of the Sixth Room 1895. The exhibition will be open until next June. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch on interviews, sub stories, special broadcasts, and more. You can subscribe on and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. The president of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, reiterated the nation's denunciation of this subversive actions promoted by the United States through organizations such as USAID, highlighted the financing of projects that seeks to destabilize the country. Díaz-Canel denounces the use of U.S. agencies such as USAID to destabilize the governments and undermine the sovereignty of nations, including Cuba. This situation has occurred since the 90s, with the USAID allocating approximately $20 to $50 million annually to supervise activities in Cuba, not in covered funds. According to the recent exposure of the agency's activities in the context of U.S. policy, it reveals the use of humanitarian organizations as fronts to fulfill U.S. hegemonic interests. The Public Prosecutor's Office of El Salvador reported the arrest of former President of Supreme Electoral Court, Eugenio Chicas Martinez. Chicas is accused of illicit enrichment and will have to appear in court in the next few days to answer for the criminal charges. The former official and his family were sentenced in November 2024 to reimburse the states more than $200,000 for 15 irregularities in his assets declarations. In the judicial process, Chicas was sued in his capacity of former president judge of the Supreme Electoral Court, as well as chairman of the board of directors of the National Registry of Natural Persons, as secretary of communication of the Presidency of the Republic, and as deputy of the Central American Parliament in different periods between 2011 and 2021. Eugenio Chicas Martinez was a member of the leadership of the nation's resistance during the armed conflict, one of the 5 organizations in El Salvador that made up the Farabundo Martí Front for the National Liberation, FMNL. After the signing of the peace accords, Chicas was elected as deputy of the Legislative Assembly and the Central American Parliament for several terms. He was also appointed magistrate president of the Supreme Electoral Court for the period 2009 to 2014, and later the first secretary of communication of the Presidency of the Republic. He has been a fierce opponent to the government policies of President Nayib Bukele and has actively participated in the protests of the FMNL social movement. The Ecuador's National Electoral Council, CNE, opened a case against president candidate Daniel Noboa for participating in a campaign even without alliances. According to the CNE's Vice President Enrique Pita, the case refers to a campaign speech by the president on the balcony of the seats of the executive without proper license to do so. This is not the only accusations against Noboa, who participated in the electoral process, and is questioning for not leaving office during the campaign period for the ceding power to a government official other than the Vice President Veronica Abad in order to participate in campaign acts. According to the Ecuadorian law, all candidates for re-election must request alliances to the National Assembly to participate in the electoral campaign. Heavy rains in Peru have affected more than 2,800 houses and 14 others have been destroyed. Infrastructure damage and roads were also affected in the Ica region south of the country. In a press release, the National Civil Defense Institute reported that the damage includes 2 educational institutes, a health center, 6.2 kilometers of communication lines, 200 hectares of crops, drinking water, and electricity. They also indicate that they are still evaluating possible effects of the eclipse of the Ingenio Archaeological Reserve, where tents were installed in the sports complex by the municipality, as well as in other districts of Chenguillo, Santiago, Parcona, and Santa Cruz. Therefore, in the scenes urged to keep local emergency centers active. In Guatemala, the archaeological park of Quirigua is one of the settlements of Mayan civilization and has been a World Heritage Site since 1981. Let's see.
El Parque Arqueológico de Quirigua, ubicado en el departamento de Izabal, situado en la región nororiental.
The Archaeological Park of Quirigua, located in the department of Izabal, in the northeastern region of Guatemala, preserves vestiges of the Mayan civilization, which were established between the 3rd and 10th centuries, after the Common Era, but it was not until between the years 426 and 810, when it reached its maximum splendor. Quirigua has an exceptional universal value, which is why it was inscribed as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1981.
La singular Quirigua está formada por 34 hectáreas, terreno que conserva una importante infraestructura.
The singular Quirigua is formed by 34 hectares, land that conserves an important ancient infrastructure, having a total of 17 monuments carved between the years 426 and 810. These are the main testimonies of the Mayan civilization, but for reasons that are not very clear, it entered a period of decline. Quirigua preserves the largest public space known in the whole Mayan area, the Great Plaza, where the ceremonial plaza and the temple are located. It is made up of a structure of pyramids, terraces, and staircases, in addition to the production of monolithic monuments carved in sandstone.
Los monumentos llamados estelas contienen textos jeroglíficos.
The monuments, called stelae, contain hieroglyphic texts describing significant dates of the Mayan calendar and celestial events, including eclipses. Together with passages from the mythology of this culture and political events, as well as social and historical events important for the development of the city. These inscriptions on the stelae compile information between the years 426 and 810, a period of 394 years, making possible the construction of history in the Mayan civilization.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, Omar Marrero. Thank you for watching.